Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Jazakallah. Now I kindly ask our esteemed guests and all attendees to please rise for the national anthem and sing it with full zeal and zest. So, the theme of the conference today is Shaping Tomorrow's Sciences, One Health Solutions for Global Sustainability. This topic might be very familiar to some, but quite new to others. Today, we aim to spark meaningful conversations, promote the exchange of ideas, and cultivate a spirit of collaboration to drive sustainable solutions in our field. Today, we have an exciting session for you all, and all of our guest speakers will be able to enlighten us better about today's theme. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, allow me to introduce you to our Dean Faculty of Life Sciences, SZABIST Karachi, Professor Dr. 𝗜𝗏𝗂𝗏𝗏. Dr. 𝗜𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 has done his undergraduate from the University of Karachi. After he finished his PhD, he went to Kiegen, Germany. Later, he joined Leiden University as a postdoc. Since January 2013, he joined SZABIST Karachi as an assistant professor, and today he is the Dean Faculty of Life Sciences. With a research experience spanning 18 years, we are extremely lucky to have him. So with a huge round of applause, please welcome on stage Professor Dr. 𝗜𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Dr. 𝗜𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, Madam Shanaz, President SZABIST, Professor Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗙𝗦𝗖𝗢𝗌, Vice President Academics, Honorable Speakers, Professor Dr. Syed Asad, Professor Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗙𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, Professor Dr. Syed Tufail, and Professor Dr. Ralph, who will be joining us online. On behalf of the organizing committee of Life Sciences Conference, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the distinguished speakers and participants, and we hope that this platform will provide the necessary experience and opportunity to collaborate, and particularly to our students, a great venue where they can actually learn the science, the research, and the spirit behind all the work that has been done for the last many, many years. I would like to use this opportunity just to give a very brief introduction about the Faculty of Life Sciences at SZABIST. Currently, we have 3 departments working under the Faculty of Life Sciences: Department of Biosciences, Department of Biotechnology, and Department of Public Health. With a very humble beginning, we started almost 14 years back in 2011 with just one program in BS Biosciences, and during the course of these years, Alhamdulillah, we have progressed. Now we have actually we have 5 BS programs, we have 3 MS programs and 1 PhD program. We are, and I'm sharing it with a lot of pride, actually, the only private sector university who is offering so much diverse program in the field of biological sciences. To the best of my knowledge, we are the only private sector university that has a functional plant tissue culture lab. Dr. Hamad is taking care of it. We are the only private sector university that has a neurochemistry or neuroscience lab, and we are thankful to Dr. 𝗖𝗍𝗲𝗍𝗲 for securing an international grant for that. With a generous collaboration with ICCBS, and I'm sharing it again with a lot of pride that we are the only private sector university in Karachi who is having a nanotechnology lab, and we are doing some good nanotechnology research under the supervision guidance of Professor Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗍𝗲𝗍𝗲, who is sitting with us right now. So these are the few of the milestones that we have achieved. And talking about the conference, you see, I firmly believe, apart from all the things that has already mentioned, the benefits and usefulness of such events, to me the biggest advantage is to provide a right inspiration to our new generation. It's very important to get inspired by the right people, and inshallah you will hear a lot of them today and tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a very special session where project display competition will be happening, and the students not only from SZABIST but outside SZABIST University are competing with their research projects. I would also like to thank our sponsors, and I am grateful to the organizing team, particularly Ms. 𝗂𝗓𝗓, for arranging sponsorship for this conference. With that, I would like to again welcome all the participants and our distinguished speakers, and hope you have a pleasure learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very insightful words. Now, moving on, allow me to introduce you to somebody who truly requires no introduction. He is a distinguished professor and director at the International Center for Chemical and Biological Sciences, University of Karachi. He holds a PhD in chemistry and has been recognized with numerous national and international awards, including the 𝗟𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗍𝗍 and the Abdus Salam Prize in Chemistry. His research expertise spans supramolecular chemistry, nanochemistry, and bioequivalent studies. He has supervised multiple PhD and MPhil scholars and has led several significant research projects funded by prestigious organizations such as HEC, OPCW, and TWAS. As a fellow of 𝗟𝗏𝗧𝗏 and Chemical Society of Pakistan, he has contributed extensively to scientific development through research, teaching, and conference organization. His dedication to innovation and excellence has positioned him as a leading figure in Pakistan's community. Please welcome, with a round of applause, our esteemed chief guest, Professor Dr. Mohammad Raza Shah.
𝗟𝗏𝗳𝗏𝗧𝗏 बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. Madam Shahnaz Wazir-Ali Sahiba, Dean Dr. Kashif, our student 𝗟𝗏𝗙𝗦𝗖𝗢𝗡, my friend 𝗬𝗏𝗙𝗦𝗀𝗍𝗍, dear students, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Let me apologize for I have been late for a few minutes, but actually I stuck just in the Clifton area that the school were just somehow closed. They opened in the morning and they wanted to close it now, so probably due to the prevailing situation in the country. This is my actually third visit to this particular university over the last 1 decade. And you know that the institution like this can be only developed with the dreams. And the first time I met with Madam Shahnaz Wazir-Ali, it was I think 10 years ago. And we were discussing in a meeting room that they wanted to initiate several other programs. And Alhamdulillah, every time I used to visit this institute, I discover new discipline, new fields, and that's the dream of the top quality leadership. I used to interact very often with Dr. Azra on various programs which she has initiated in our institute. And in the Sen government, we are contributing in various areas. And we are blessed that we have a leadership in the form of Madam Shahnaz Wazir-Ali and Dr. Azra, that they can understand the needs of the day. Every time, whenever we meet, they just try to do something better for this particular province. And as you can see, this is the only private sector university in the country which has a full-fledged nanotechnology programs and lab. And let me tell you that this the landscape of the knowledge is changing very rapidly. And we need to just hold the pulse of the time. And if we are not running at that pace, we will lag behind. And that's the reason I just at the time remember the statement of the CEO of the Nokia, that once the Nokia was just leading the whole world in the cellular phone. But he said that we did nothing wrong, but we missed the train of the development. We just stuck to our core values, but we were unaware what is happening around the world, and Samsungs and these companies were just tapping that. So this is that is why that this particular university is blessed with a great leadership who has one hand on the pulses of the time, that what is happening around the globe, that's extremely important. With we from the platform of ICCBS, we are working very closely with them. I just tried to develop the nanotechnology lab here, At the same time, Madam, we can also work from the platform of the UNESCO. I am currently holding chair of UNESCO in medicinal chemistry. So we can link the various biological programs of this particular university with the UNESCO. And the UNESCO is accrediting various kind of these programs, and the UNESCO is also supporting programs in the science and technology. My main emphasis in the UNESCO is to just introduce the medicinal chemistry and just work more progressively towards the development of medicinal chemistry in this part of the world. Though before I just took over the charge, the UNESCO are more interested in the Africa and development of that. But now we have initiated, alhamdulillah, many programs in Pakistan, especially the water purification programs in the interior Sindh, and also some programs with the Health Ministry of Sindh and to improve the lives of our women's and also the mothers. There's another programs which we initiated from the platform of the UNESCO here. So the leadership is really progressive. They have vision. They want to just make some change and just bring this university to the top, leading, this institutions and the programs which they are running to the top programs run under the higher education sector in the country. So our support is always there, and the dreams which they have realized now, and they are working to just hard to bring their dreams into reality. We are very much in line with those, and with your biological sciences and life science. So conferences and programs of such kind of nature is extremely important to create awareness in the people about the life sciences, which is an integral part of the basic sciences. So this is a very timely program. I was just going through the list of the speakers who have been invited to the talk. These they are carefully selected. All the programs are well designed. All the lectures are carefully selected, and they are covering diverse areas of life sciences. So I am pretty sure that your participation and your stay here will be a very productive one, and you will learn a lot from the wisdom of the people who will be sharing their knowledge through lectures with you. And I would urge the student to just participate actively in the and interact with the speakers. If you are asking question, that is the most important factor, that you just challenge the speakers, ask questions, and just participate in the programs. And active participation means asking questions. And if you have a curiosity, you will always ask question. So curiosity in the knowledge and curiosity to acquire knowledge is extremely important, and the students are highly encouraged to do interact with the speakers, do ask questions. And for the young faculty member of this department, I would also urge to just sit with the speakers, initiate joint research projects, write research grant for the funding agencies, and the skies are the limit. So with this, let me thank you for inviting me to be here, and sharing a few words with you. I wish you a very productive and stimulating time here during the conference. Thank you so much. Pakistan Zindabad.
Thank you so much, sir. Your insights and expertise have been truly very impactful, and we are very grateful to your contributions to the field and also to SZABIST. So thank you very much for that. And I would also like to tell everyone that we've been joined by Professor Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗍𝗍 online. So also please welcome him to the conference with a huge round of applause. Now let us commence LIFSCICON with our very first speaker of the conference, Professor Dr. 𝗖𝗙𝗻𝗄𝗏𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍. He is the Chair Department of Community Health Sciences and the 𝗟𝗏𝗙𝗦𝗓𝗍𝗏 Endowed Chair, Professor of Pediatrics and Community Health Sciences. He is an alumnus of AKU Medical College and obtained his advanced clinical training in pediatrics from Duke University and fellowship and pediatrics infectious diseases and masters in public health at Vanderbilt University, USA. He has led many clinical studies with fundings from institutions like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, NIH USA, Wellcome Leap, and CDC USA, to address these problems using cutting-edge scientific approaches. The topic he'll be enlightening us about today is Infectious Diseases and Sustainability, Challenges and Opportunities. So please welcome with a huge round of applause, Professor Dr. 𝗖𝗙𝗻𝗄𝗏𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍 on stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I really want to thank the organizers and the whole of the SZABIST Institute for extending this invitation to me to come here. It's a real honor and a pleasure. I come here from the Aga Khan University, which is also a private sector university, and I'm delighted that over the recent times the connections are increasing. I know our president is very close to President SZABIST, and then they're also nurturing some faculty level connections, and I think this is also translating into student level interaction, and I really look forward to that and contribute in these connections as much as possible. So what I'll be talking today is about, let's make this full screen, so that would be best, if we can, let's make it full screen. So what I'll be talking about is infectious diseases sustainability, infectious disease and sustainability, challenges and opportunities. I don't have conflicts of interest to declare. So I think the first point to understand is what is sustainability? Why are we talking about it? Why do we care about it? So I think this is beautifully defined, or the United Nations expresses it as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So how many of you have been to the �勢 Plains up in the north? How many of you have been to northern areas in general in Pakistan? So quite a few of you, huh? So imagine if you go there and, otherwise you behave quite well, but, while camping, you cut down a little bit of trees and put in, leave a little bit of kind of trash behind. What will happen? So what will happen? Okay, so as an individual, you could say, yaar, itni badi jagah hai, this is such a big place, I'm doing this, my footprint will be very small, and yes, the plastic will stay forever, but the things that I cut, you can imagine in your heart that it'll regrow and it'll be all fine. But imagine that if thousands of people like you are going, okay, what will happen? The place will, you will have your time, but people who are coming there in the subsequent years and all, they will not have the same experience as you. And if you keep on, if people like this keep on doing this, then eventually the whole ecosystem will suffer, and the beauty that you get to enjoy today, the future people will not be able to enjoy, right? So this is exactly what we mean by sustainability, to meet the needs of today without compromising on the future generations, that they are able to enjoy the same kind of things that we have today. So why is So why is this critical? Okay, so in 1950, there were only 2 megacities in the world. Okay, there were only 2 megacities, New York City and Tokyo, which had the population of over 10 million. Okay, today from 2 there are more than 30 megacities in the world, and this is projected to be more than 50 by the year 2050. So we are rapidly kind of increasing in numbers overall as well. The plastics, they weren't there historically in the past. They have been there for the last about 140, 150 years. And as you know, our plastic footprint is also increasing, and these almost, their rate of decomposition is virtually, they live in the ecosystem forever. This is a scary kind of a graph, and if you look at the kind of the temperatures overall, look at the graph here. This is, in the end, it's really kind of a dramatic increase that we are having in global temperatures averages. So this is absolutely impossible to deny that, because of all of these stresses, because of the huge number of people, because of our increased footprint, because of our increased energy demands, because of our practices, the planet, there is a toll being taken on the planet, and the planet is reacting. The question is, what will be the price? And this is a pretty scary price that is staring us in our face, that what the future generations will have to deal with. And it's not just the future generations, it's today as well. What are the price that we are paying today? And what I want to focus on is, the price that we pay are in many different domains, right? It is in the domain of infectious diseases, it is in the domain of non-communicable diseases. So for example, people having, heart attack. I mean, the biggest risk factor is actually the air pollution that reduces our lifespan. But today, so the environment impacts us in many, many different ways, but I particularly would like to tell you the price that not the future generation will pay, but what we are paying right now. So I'll give you some examples. I am an infectious diseases physician, so I treat patients with infectious diseases. This disease is called aspergillosis. So when people have cancer, they get chemotherapy, and when they get chemotherapy, temporarily their immune system is suppressed. Okay, when it is suppressed, they are vulnerable to opportunistic infections, and one of the opportunistic infections is a fungus called aspergillus. Okay, and aspergillus affects your lungs, not your lungs, but people, if you were immunocompromised, it could affect your lungs and cause a disease which is called this aspergillosis, and that's how you have it in your chest CT, these white balls in here. When I was in the US, this would be rare to see, okay, and you would see this in people who were on chronic immunosuppression, a lot of, on multiple cycles, on some very hard chemotherapy and all. Here, this is our first differential to see when we have people on chemotherapy, and this, even after the first cycle of chemotherapy, this is what we are thinking of. We are, so the burden is huge. And why is it huge? It's, if you see in here, the amount of trash that we have, what we are doing to our environment, the amount of plastics, and this is just, it is, and this is exactly what's translating in here. With the rising temperature, this is not just the future generations. Our future generations, if we don't mend our ways, they will have it much, much tougher. But we, even today, are having this cost that we are paying. So for example, Zika virus, this was there in 1947, only isolated in Uganda, in this place in here, right? As the temperature rise, so do, it's easier for the mosquitoes and all to flourish. Mosquitoes invade territories where they weren't there in the past. And just in the last few years, what we have seen is that the Zika is kind of spread all over. The footprint of Zika virus, now you can see all over. Same is happening, many of you are younger, but you might remember, what happened with dengue a few years ago. right? It was just such a scare, and all of these are mosquito-borne diseases. Malaria, for example, I mean, we did surveillance in 盛𝗟𝗏, and the number one cause, to everybody's surprise, of neonatal sepsis came out that what we could diagnose was malaria in here. So all of these are prices that not our future generation will pay, but this is the price that we are paying today. So this is not a problem that we can ignore. Now, a humongous problem, which probably is the biggest one, or I mean, all problems are big in this domain, but that is of antimicrobial resistance. Okay, so as you know, the first antibiotics, they were discovered around 50s and 40s, 1950s and so, right? And now, I tell you, this happens to me as a clinician, that at times when I'm rounding in the neonatal ICU, there are kids, babies with infections which are resistant to all known antibiotics. Okay, so if you think about it, so we are kind of like in the era of practicing medicine, which was before 1950s, before when antibiotics were discovered. So this is a huge problem, and these are what are the practices that are contributing in it. It's, I mean, the unregulated use of antibiotics that we are doing in our poultry, cattle, even in our hospitals. We have to make all of these choices, and these are the prices that we are paying today. So it's a big issue in here. Now, this is also infectious diseases, so when we compromise on our environment, it impacts on infectious diseases, but there is also a reverse loop. Sometimes infectious diseases also are able to kind of hit on our sustainability efforts. So for example, when COVID came, there were many positive impacts on the environment because of COVID, but there were also many negative impacts. So for example, humongous amount of waste was generated. Okay, so in the hospitals and these, the waste production just astronomically increased in here. So all of these are, so this is a two-way street that can happen with these with infection. So mostly what we are talking about is environmental problems exacerbating our infectious diseases problems. A key question to ask, okay, so we can talk about solutions, and we will talk about solutions, but it is much more important before we talk about solutions to understand why do we behave that way. Okay, so if you want to fix somebody's behavior and you come about as lecturing them, oh, you should do this, this and this, right? What are your chances of success? You would be much smarter if you actually would kind of first try to understand why that person is behaving that way. Okay, so first listen why that person is behaving that way, and then you come up with kind of suggestions on improving. You will be able to design your interventions much better by first understanding why we behave this way, right? So this is a good question to ask. Yeah, we are all well-educated people. Why do we deprioritize environment and the sustainability effort, which we know will really compromise our future generations, and more than that, it is compromising our today right now? Why do we not do it? Okay, so why do we not do it? If I ask you, why do we not do it? Okay, so these are some things. So one is that we always kind of prioritize individual gains over shared resource in health. There is a short-term focus in here. So if you have a clear short-term interest in mind, it would really take a lot of character strength on your part to kind of let go of the short-term interest and think long-term, think of the community and all, right? It is very difficult for people to do that. Most people, if they see a short-term gain in front of them, they would prioritize that short-term gain. And this is kind of one of the things that influences our behavior, which is really compromising our long-term things. Economically, there are costs. I'm sorry that you probably can't see this too much, but I'll just talk about it. So economically, these things can have a cost, right? I mean, it may be cheaper for you to take a path. It may be cheaper for you not to clean your trash from the place that you have created it and all. There may be a cost for it, and cost in the long run would be even higher, but you will not pay that cost yourself. The system will pay that cost, the other people will pay that cost, and if you were to do healthy or good practices right now, they may cost a little bit higher. So that's one of the other reasons why so many people don't prioritize and make choices which are clearly harmful for the society. Social factors, social norms and conformity, lack of community engagement. There is a little bit of feeling of kind of, giving up is like, oh yeah, not my problem. I have so many other problems in here. This is for rich people to consider, and they should do it. And this, there is a sense of apathy that comes in, which is also kind of a factor. This is not something that's very, very cool. If you start to say, people conform to their norms, right? If you are driving and, if there is a culture in here when people can easily toss things out of their window, it would be, if you're a good person, you will not do it. But imagine you are living in a society where nobody does it, right? There, if you do it, everybody, this will be horrible. This will be scandalized for a very long time, right? So there is a social norm which is also a factor in here. And then, there are political and institutional factors. We need a lot of kind of regulations and governance, and there is this role. So these are the key factors because of which we don't have our optimum behavior. This is a graph that I like. Okay, this is a graph that we created in here. This, if you see, because there is a sense of hopelessness. Okay, you say, yeah, the problem is so big, and these industries and these people, these countries, they make so much of environment, they have such a large footprint. What can I as an individual do? Okay, am I just wasting my time here? Am I just, what is going to be the impact of my efforts when there are other players who are so big? Okay, and this is a good graph that we came up with. And that is, there are different things to be done at different scale. Okay, there are some hats which are worn at individual level, which would be very, very important and impactful. Those cannot be done. So there is a very good saying, which is useful. I wish most students would do. I personally use it in my life every day, even today. And that is, don't let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. Okay, so there are many things that you cannot do, but there are a huge number of things that you can do. Okay, so for example, you can talk all about, the America has produced this much carbon footprint and the environment is this, but if you smoke yourself, okay, the amount of exposure that you are getting in yourself is way higher in here, right? So that's not on America, that's on you. In this. So there are many things that you can do at individual level, at family level, at village level, at country level, and at global level. So I think it's important to break down potential interventions in these domains and see what you can do in here. Now, how are you going to do pro-sustainability practices? Okay, so one is regulatory framework. We should penalize people. So for example, the hospitals, there should be very strong regulatory framework. They cannot generate or they cannot throw waste out in there. It has to be done properly. And these regulatory framework can be there for everything. The problem is that the regulatory framework works better when most people are doing the right thing and this, but if you only come from the regulatory framework viewpoint and in a system which is not quite conducive, there is corruption that creeps in. Okay, the regulators, and the more that you throw the regulators at a problem, inevitably, if the system overall is weak, corruption kicks in. People who are the recipients of this start to find loopholes and they move on. Okay, so regulatory is a very important element of the solution, but not the only solution. Okay, it should be there as an important tool. This is very important. Okay, facilitatory framework. We need to think of businesses that are pro-sustainability, okay? Can you be, so there is this concept of kind of, public entrepreneurial partnership framework, okay? That, can you promote businesses, can you subsidize businesses whose job is, whose business is such which will actually reduce the environmental impact. So for example, if there is a company that takes plastics and other things from the hospitals and reuses it and all, could that company be made like tax exempt? And could startup funds be given for businesses like these and all, right? So we need to think not just from the hammer standpoint, okay, we'll punish those who do bad things, but also on the side kind of think of the pro-facilitatory businesses. Innovations are, this is very useful. So for example, the LED bulbs now, right? So earlier when you had bulbs, they used to produce so much heat and a little bit of light on the side. Okay, but now we have LED bulbs which produce so much light and very little heat on the side, and their life is just so long. So there is, innovations are coming up which gives us hope in terms of, what can we do to help. Marketing and culture change. So kind of, what are the main things that we can think of that we should kind of focus on? Areas for infectious diseases impact in the environment, clean water and sanitation, sustainable urban planning, responsible land use and agriculture, climate change action, and sustainable healthcare. These are the things that can be done and that need to be done at the system level for us to make a difference in here. Aga Khan Development Network is a good example, okay, and I'm very proud of this. So for example, in this era, so there are economic costs for it, right? And people say this, I was reading this yesterday, I was preparing this talk, okay, when you say that our goal is 90% compliance, then everybody considers a way of fitting into that 10%, which you say, oh, I am the exception for it, okay? For AKDN, their goal is 100%, we have to be carbon neutral by 2030. So now the thing is, even if it is expensive, it is not expensive. There are committees in here whose job is to just, expensive or not expensive. So what we do, for example, is, one of our biggest footprint is through our suppliers, right? So when we buy things, they have a huge, so now at Aga Khan we can't have these plastic bottles, right? So now there is no plastic bottle, so it's a filtered water that is there, everybody's supposed to use that. So but what we have done is, in our procurement, for example, we have set up standards, we will only procure, or we will give high marks when we are grading the vendors, those who follow sustainable practices and all, okay? So that encourages the vendors to comply as well. They actually come out and say, because of you now we are also competitive internationally, because of you we got all those gradings and all of that. Now when we bid for tender internationally, we meet the demands and these. So the thing is, all of us need to be the champions of this, okay? Yes, the bigger people, bigger organizations as well, but we are the ones who form the bigger organizations as well, right? You are students today, tomorrow you're going to be leaders of some very large, big corporations and organizations. So if you are committed, that commitment will follow to that institution in here. So there are individual level interventions that you can do, hygiene, consumption, reduce meat, reduce plastic, health awareness, and institutional level interventions that can happen. The key thing here is that we need to embrace sustainable practices at every level, individual, community, and institutional, to reduce the spread of infectious diseases and build healthier, more resilient world for all, okay? This is something that's in our hand. We need to do it today. There should be no apathy. You should never think, oh, what can I do in this? You have a sphere of influence. We always underestimate our sphere of influence, okay? One person can also change the world, okay? So you have that power in you right now as an individual. You are part of an institution. You can create this from this institution. Tomorrow when you have more authority, more power, you will be the one leading your place and all. But this is a fight that we cannot afford to lose, okay? And there are many examples of positive things. Inshallah, we'll make huge strides in this in the future. I thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you so much, sir. This presentation was truly very enlightening, especially since the world just came out of a pandemic. Such discussions are very vital in our field, and I thank you very much for that. Moving on forward to the second speaker of our session, Dr. 𝗬𝗓𝗬𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍 and Science and Technology at University of Karachi. She has been associated with academia for 15 years and has around 100 publications, including research papers, review papers, books, and patent crossing 300 impact factors. Since last 5 years, she is serving as an editorial board member of the journal Legume Science, published by 𝗬𝗎𝗐𝗔. She is also recipient of several competitive research grants funded by PSF, 𝗬𝗵𝗐𝗍𝗔, 𝗦𝗏𝗙, and food industries. She also presented her work in international and national conferences, including Malaysia, Turkey, and Thailand. Her key research areas are food product development, food rheology, modified starches, biodegradable films, and functional products. Her presentation title is Strategies for Developing Reduced Glycemic Healthy Flatbreads. In a round of applause, please welcome on stage Dr. Tahira Mohsin Ali.
Esteemed guest, President SZABIST, and students over here, Assalamu alaikum. So the topic is very different after the first speaker. So we will be talking about food, right? So as already told, my topic is strategies for developing reduced glycemic healthy flatbreads, right? So according to International Diabetes Federation, right, Pakistan is one of the countries where 26.7% of our adult population, they are diabetes positive. That accounts for 32.9 million people. So it's a huge economic burden that our country is facing, because it's around $332 per person per year. So if you multiply this figure, $332, with this 32.9 million, you can understand the impact, the economic burden that a country like Pakistan, being a developing country, is facing. And also we are third after China and India that have the highest number of adults that have diabetes. And unfortunately, according to IDF, this huge number, it is more prevalent in our urban centers. Obviously, we know that in our rural population, most of the population is malnourished. But conversely, what we see the situation in urban centers, it is reverse, that most of the people, they are like obese, overweight, and they are suffering from diabetes. So according to IDF, what are the two major reasons for such high prevalence of diabetes among adults? It is very obvious. We all know that. It is because we are most of the time physically inactive, we have a sedentary lifestyle, and also we see that we are eating foods that are very high glycemic. Now, high glycemic may be a new term for many of the students that are here. Actually, high glycemic products, to understand glycemic scale, it's basically a scale that ranges from 0 to 100, right? And it tells us amount of glucose that is released after the ingestion of a food with respect to time. So basically, based on glycemic index or GI, we categorize food into three types: high GI products, medium GI products, and low GI products. So let's first discuss about high GI products. So by high GI products, what do we mean? We mean these are those products that are going to quickly release glucose into the bloodstream soon after its consumption. So for example, when we drink sugary soft drinks, so it quickly rises the glucose levels in our bloodstream. So these are considered as high GI products, and they have GI value greater than 70 on the scale of 100. Similarly, when we talk about the medium GI products, they are going to release glucose into our blood in a longer span of time compared to the high GI products. And even the low GI products that have the GI value less than 55, they will even release glucose in a much longer time compared to medium GI products. So this is the graph. You can see here that the red graph, it is showing a spike of glucose in the blood. So it, in a shorter period of time, you can see here that it is quickly releasing the glucose in a shorter period of time. Compared to medium GI, which is the yellow one, which is taking longer span of time, and low GI is even taking longer period of time compared to the medium GI. So what are the benefits if we go for the low glycemic products? The first thing is that since glucose is released over a longer span of time, so they are not going to ask for much insulin from our pancreas. So the load on insulin will reduce. Secondly, you will not feel hungry very oftenly. That is, it will give you the feeling of fullness or satiety for a longer period of time. So it will prevent you from snacking. Then the third thing is that it can be used for to develop products that are intended for diabetic patients or those who want to, reduce their weight or improve their lifestyle. So you can see here, the red one is the high GI product graph of the release of glucose with respect to time, and the category is of chips, biscuit, cakes, and things like that. Whereas the low GI products, they include lentils, vegetables, basmati rice, pasta, oats, etc. So what are the risks if you actually consume high GI products very oftenly? So the risk factors are, you will get 14% higher chance to get CHDs, 7% higher chance to get stroke, and 19% higher chance to get diabetes. Again, in terms of cancer, the chances of getting breast cancer will increase by 6%, 8% higher chances to get colorectal cancer, and bladder cancer will increase by 26%. So, how can we reduce the risk factor? Obviously, we should consume low GI and medium GI products compared to the high GI products. So, why I chose the flatbreads as the topic for the conversion into low GI? The thing is that being Pakistanis, we all know that we are consuming flatbreads very often, like at least 2 to 3 times every day, right? So, since we are talking about sustainability, so I chose this topic, I chose this product in fact, because the frequency of eating these flatbreads is very high in our population. So if we target such products that have a higher frequency of consumption, so obviously in long term it will have a better impact. And also it is low fat. It is senseless to make those products low GI that are already very high in fat content. So these are some of the commonly eaten flatbreads. Roti, taftan, tandoori roti, and sheerma that we eat as flatbreads. So we will be discussing in this lecture the 2 strategies for making these flatbreads low GI or reduced GI. So the first strategy is to make these flatbreads using composite flour, and the second one is to add resistant starch into the flour in order to make them low glycemic. So first strategy, composite flour. By composite flour, what do we mean? By composite flour, we mean the blend of flours. Instead of using just one flour, that is the wheat flour that we commonly do, it is better that we use blend of flours, and that is known as the composite flour. Whether that flour comes from wheat, non-wheat, tubers, roots, legumes, lentils, etc. Now, what are the advantages if we go for the composite flours? The advantage would be that it will lead to crop diversification. The second will be the less reliance on wheat, that will again improve sustainability. And third thing is that since most of the flours other than wheat, they are very high in fiber because they are less refined, so you will also get more fiber. And then variable nutrients. Since every crop has a unique nutrition profile, a different amino acid profile, a different vitamin profile, a different mineral profile, so you will get diversified nutrients if you consume blend of flours. So the first study that we conducted was in 2019 by our research group, and there we actually made a composite flour by using barley and wheat. We actually replaced wheat by 5 to 50% of the barley flour, and then we determined the glycemic index, texture, rheology, techno-functional properties, and sensory characteristics. So you can see here the control bread. It has a high GI value, which is 81.39. But when we replace the wheat flour, 25% of the wheat flour with the barley flour, you can see in the red box that the GI has reduced to 67.79. And by 25%, what do we mean? Because there are so many students sitting here. That is, if you take 1 cup of barley flour and 3 cups of barley flour and you turn them into a dough and then make flatbreads out of it, they will be very low GI compared to the control bread. And similarly, if you replace 50% of the wheat flour with the barley flour, then obviously it will further reduce the GI value. Now this is the machine that we have in our lab that is known as universal testing machine. And in this machine we actually have 2 grips. So we clamp the flatbread between these 2 grips, and the upper clamp is basically moving upward. So it actually stretches the flatbread until it breaks. So we measure the force that is required to break the bread and how much it elongated before breaking. So in that way we measure the elasticity as well. So these were the results of Fmax. You can see that the breads became softer when we added barley flour. However, elasticity has reduced. Now, after objective analysis, we went for subjective analysis. These breads that were prepared using composite flours, they were presented to 16 panelists, and they were allowed to score it on the scale of 1 to 9, where 1 represented least liked and 9 represented most liked, and 5 was neither liked nor disliked. So these were the results. Up till 25% replacement, we can see that the panelists, they were not able to differentiate at 95% confidence interval that the difference between the control breads that were made completely from wheat flour and those that were made from a combination of 25% barley flour and 75% wheat flour in terms of appearance, hardness, grittiness, folding, flavor, aroma, and overall acceptability. However, after 50% replacement, there was slight decline in the scores, but still it was greater than 5. So this study has already been published. And also you can see by replacing the barley flour, wheat flour with the barley flour, you can see that the crude fiber content has increased, the ash content has increased, and slight decline in protein content. This is the paper. Now another study that we actually devised was by using the combination of sorghum and potato flour. Sorghum grows in our country, and it is known as, locally it is known as jawar. So we made combination using potato flour and sorghum flour. And we replaced sorghum flour 10 to 40% with the potato flour. This study was funded by SZABIST. So this is how the jawar looks like, and it's a drought tolerant crop. That is, it can even grow in the desert and the arid and semi-arid areas of different parts of the world. It is also the #1 crop in Africa. And in our country, it grows abundantly in Sindh and Balochistan. So it is low glycemic naturally, and it's a lost cereal. FAO declared this crop as the crop of the year in 2023 in order to promote its usage. So this is the summary of the results that we got. So you can see here that even if we make 100% flatbread using sorghum flour, the GI value was 50. Whereas for wheat flour, what we found was it was 82, right? So it's a naturally low glycemic flatbread. Whereas in terms of fiber, you can see there was not much changes when we added potato flour. The ash content, you can see here, has slightly reduced, protein has slightly increased, carbohydrates has slightly increased by addition of potato flour. So this is another study that we conducted on another flatbread, very popular flatbread of Pakistan, which is taftan. Again, we used a combination of wheat and barley flour, and what we observed was that the control taftan had a very high GI value of 82, but it reduced to 70 when we replaced 20% of the wheat flour with the barley flour. But the overall acceptability up till 15% was insignificantly different from the control. Now again, you can see the replacement of the wheat flour with the barley flour in the taftan flatbread resulted in very high fiber content. Minerals has increased almost 50%, and protein has increased. Fat, you can see, has substantially reduced, and total carbohydrates has slightly increased. This is another study which I am not going to discuss because of the shortage of time, but this was conducted on a pan bread. It is similar to the dawn breads that we consume in breakfast. You can see the more details of this in my research paper. It is published in International Journal of Food Science and Technology. These white breads, they have very high glycemic index, but by using a combination of red rice flour in combination with wheat, we were able to reduce the glycemic index substantially. Now let's discuss about the second strategy, that is the direct addition of dietary fiber. Why not add the dietary fiber directly into the flour in order to reduce the glycemic index? But the problem is this. When we add directly dietary fiber into any food product, the products, they become dark brown in color, the textures are gritty, we feel off flavor, right? So nobody actually consumes these products by choice unless and until they are recommended to do so by doctors, right? Otherwise we don't consume. So the thing is that the consumer acceptability is lacking when we directly add dietary fiber into the food products. So this triggered a research that how can we make dietary fiber tasty that does not affect the consumer acceptability that much. So what's the alternative? The alternative is resistant starch. It's a unique kind of dietary fiber. So what is the definition? The definition is that it is that part of the starch that remains undigested in the small intestine. Now this definition is similar to what we say about dietary fiber, right? So another definition is that it does not get digested even after 120 minutes of its ingestion in small intestine, and later on when it goes to large intestine, it is digested, or it is actually fermented by the colon microflora into short chain fatty acids. So we actually divide the starch into three types. One is RDS. What we mean by RDS, it is readily digestible starch that gets digested within 20 minutes of its ingestion, like French fries and things like that. They have lots of RDS. Then slowly digestible starch that takes 120 minutes to get completely digested. And RS, as we already discussed, does not get digested even after 120 minutes of ingestion. So what makes RS unique? The first row, you can see these all are conventional fibers, जिसको हम कहते हैं आटे की भूसी या राइस का ब्रान है या जो इस तरह की चीज़ है. So they all, you can see they have very large particle size, they are brownish in color, right? And then they have, they have large particle size. But compared to that, if you see the RS, it is white in color, right? It has very small particle size, almost similar to that of flour, right? And it's non-fibrous in nature because it is granular. So according to Codex, RS meets the definition of dietary fiber, and it is considered as a synthetic source of dietary fiber. So what are the advantages if we add RS instead of conventional fibers into the product? Obviously it is going to make our products low glycemic, which we are talking about, prevent snacking because you don't feel hungry between the meals, ferments into short chain fatty acids in the large intestine, and then it also has the prebiotic activity, which you know is very important for our gut health. So the second strategy is to add RS into the flatbreads. So for that, what we have to do is we have to first prepare the RS. For that we actually use a technique which is a bit difficult to understand, but it is called as amylose lipid complexation, right? In our field it is known as amylose lipid complexation. And we did this, what we do is that we took the 10% starch slurry, we added 3% stearic acid into it, and then we heated it in a pilot scale tank that we have in our lab. It's a jacketed tank, and we actually cooked it to 99 degrees centigrade. And then we have another pilot scale plant. This is known as spray dryer. So actually what we do is that in the chamber it is actually transferred in the form of a mist, that is fine droplets. Already there is hot air in the spray dryer chamber, right? So basically what it does is it converts this fine droplets into dried starch, right? And then in the bottom you can see it, there is a collector via cyclone. It is collected into that. So we get a fine powder of RS. Now how to confirm that whether RS has been prepared or not? For that we conducted a test to validate that, and what we saw was that before treatment, which we did here, so basically before that the RDS, that is the readily digestible starch, was 45%, SDS was 27%, and RS was again 27%. But the after treatment that we did in our pilot scale plant, what we saw was that the RDS has substantially reduced to 25, SDS reduced to 15.86, and what you can see here, the RS has increased to 59%. So this confirmed that the RS has been produced. Now, we incorporated this RS in again yet a very popular flatbread of our country, and that was tandoori flatbread, and we added it at 5 and 10% levels directly into the wheat flour, and then we prepared the breads out of it. And we evaluated the glycemic index, texture, color, and sensory properties. So in Fmax, you can see the Fmax, which is the softness, indicator of softness, it didn't change for 5% level, but then it increased when we added it at 10% level. But elasticity has reduced for both of them. Now, again, which we talked about, that when we add conventional fibers, the breads, they are very dark brown in color, and then they lack consumer acceptability. So what we did was that we, using an instrument, we measured the color. So color was measured using L values. That is a scale from 0 to 100. 100 is for perfectly white, and 0 is for perfectly black, right? So what you can see here, the control bread has 68.65 value, but that increased. Instead of reduction in white color, actually by addition of RS, the white color improved. So हम कहते हैं ना कि हम अपनी आँखों से खाते हैं. So it became whiter actually. So this was the plus point of this study. Then again, glycemic index, very important factor. Has it been reduced or not? The answer is yes, it has been reduced. What we can see here is that the controlled flatbread has a 72 glycemic index. That is, earlier it was high GI product. But just by addition of 5% RS into it, what happened is that it converted into a low GI product, not even medium GI, it changed into a low GI product. And further addition to 10% replacement level, it further reduced the low GI, further reduced the glycemic index. So in terms of sensory properties, you can see here all A's in every column. So this means that the ANOVA results show that there was no significant difference. That is, the panelists were unable to differentiate between the control flatbread and the breads that contain 5% and 10% RS. So this is a plus point of the study, because again, if the color is brown, children are not going to eat. Even the teenagers, they are not going to eat. But if appearance-wise the product is good, it will have higher consumer acceptability. Definitely it will have. So this is another study, because of shortage of time, I'm not going to discuss it, but it has already been published. Those who want to see this, this is the reference. So what about the current status of commercial aspect of it? So Sweden has already produced 2 products that contain RS. Then Mexico has produced 7 products that contain RS. And USA 49, Australia 14. So it's an emerging field. Definitely our country also need to work on that, as how we can produce the high RS containing products that have higher consumer acceptability. So in a nutshell, what we can see is that these healthy flatbreads can be produced with reduced glycemic index, and definitely it will have a positive impact on the health of our general population, because we all are eaters of flatbread. Secondly, the composite flours, what will do? They will actually add to crop diversity and less reliance on wheat. And third is that by using RS, we can make healthy flatbreads, yet tastier flatbreads. So this is all about it. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Dr. 𝗖𝗙𝗻𝗄𝗎𝗍𝗍. It's a very good presentation, very useful, and I know that it's a science conference, so a lot of research works and a lot of data and a lot of research processes that you followed. But I was just thinking that since there's some of us who are not scientists also sitting here, although all our students are coming from life sciences, in very simple terms, would you, because I'm sure in many families there are maybe parents or any other member of the family, grandparents can be diabetic. So in very simple words, could you prescribe what would be 3 or 4 foods to have? When you say flatbread and wheat flour and barley, etc., can you prescribe what might be a healthy diet for diabetic people at home?
Yeah, definitely. I think most of the diabetes people who are suffering, again I say that they actually have insulin resistance, so they should go for those products that should be, less insulin dependent. So for that, as I already described here, it is better for them that they use whole wheat flours or whole flours, whether that whole flour is from wheat or whether it is from barley. And barley has been very impactful for the diabetic patients. Then secondly, it is better, and instead of using white flour, it is better that they use the brown flour or the red flour, red rice or the brown rice. That is better compared to using white rice. That has a very high GI value. So basmati rice, which is the Sela one, that also has the low GI value. But I'm not talking about the fact that if I'm recommending it, they eat it like whole plates of it. But like just for, if they want to, sometimes there is craving, right? So in that case, it is better to use basmati rice, the Sela one, compared to the white rice. Similarly, breads, as I've already discussed in very detail, it is better that they should actually make a combination of flour. And this I have done in my home also, that what we do is that we take 1 cup of barley flour and the remaining 3 of the wheat flour, and then we make breads out of it. And it has a substantial impact on our gut health and everything. So it is very important not only for the diabetic patients, but also for the general population. Secondly, the lentils, they are also low glycemic in nature, they should go for that. So these are some of the tips. Avoid sugary drinks, obviously, but since we are more eaters of rice and breads, so that's why I told you this. Any other questions? I hope you understood it. Your voices will tell me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As Madam President already said, this was a very interesting presentation, and I am very sure everyone will be replacing their wheat flour with barley when they get home today. And thank you so much. It is now time to move on to our third guest speaker of the session, Dr. 𝗖𝗙𝗿𝗍𝗃. He is a renowned analytical chemist with over 26 years of post-PhD experience in teaching, research, and leadership. He serves as the professor and director at the National Center of Excellence in Analytical Chemistry, University of Sindh, Jamshoro, Pakistan, with a PhD in chemistry and a postdoctoral training from McGill University, Canada. He has authored more than 239 research articles, 10 book chapters, and holds 3 patents, including one by USPTO. Recognized with prestigious awards, including the HEC Best Teacher Award, PASS Gold Medal, and the SATHA Innovation Award, he has mentored 29 PhD and 32 MPhil scholars. As a fellow of the Pakistan Academy of Sciences, Dr. Shah continues to play a vital role in advancing scientific excellence in Pakistan and beyond. His presentation topic is Use of Vegetable Oil Deodorizer Distillate as a Novel Capping Agent for Fabrication of Silver Nanoparticles. So I would like to call on stage, in a huge round of applause, Professor Dr. 𝗖𝗙𝗿𝗍𝗃.
𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Praise is due to Almighty Allah, who is the creator of this universe, and Durood Salam on Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for which this universe was created. A respectable, eminent scientist, Professor Dr. Zaisha Saab, and very visionary lady, Shahnaz Wazir Ali, Professor Asad, Dean Saab, and all the management of Dr. Hamad, all the faculty members, students, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. So first of all, I am thankful to Professor Dr. Hamad and Dr. Ali Abbas, who invited me and provided me a chance to share some of research work in this forum, and also this is my first visit to this SZABIST. So I am thankful to you, Dr. Saab. You provided me a chance to see the very excellent infrastructure of SZABIST. So my lecture is very simple. I have deleted all the technical slides because it is for the students and give some vision to our young researchers and students and faculty members. When I was appointed as a director in 2021, so I arranged a meeting with my faculty members. Then I discussed with them that there are only one deficiency in our center, that we have no patent in our center, all faculty members. Although we have a very good number of publications, and we published in 2023, we published 121 research papers in the international journals, and we are only 10 faculty members. This number is not so important, but the impact factor was the 484. It means that one paper, the average impact factor of the paper was 4. So at that time, in 2021 and 22, we submitted 7 patents, and out of 7, alhamdulillah, 4 patents are not only accepted, but the 3 patents are the granted, and 1 is accepted, and 1 is under revision. And out of these 4 patents, the 3 patents are mine. So this is the just outline of my presentation. So a little about the patent. Basically, it is the legal document and providing the right to the inventor to protect the copy of his invention. So therefore, nobody, firm or party can copy their patent, neither they produce or market their patent without the permission of the inventor. So patent must be novel. It will be the new work, not you can patent the already published work, and then it will be useful for the society, and also it is the non-obvious. You can't give all the data in the patent. If you will disclose all the things or the obvious in the patent, then it is the just publication, not the patent. Something you have to keep with you, that sometime when you are discussing with the party and you are not sure that either the contract will be the mature or not. So when you give all the particulars, all the specifications of your patent to the party, then nothing is, if the contract is not mature, then nothing is with your hand. So idea can't be patent. Only work can be patent. All the ideas are very good, but if you are not working on that ideas, that can't be patented. And then the law of nature and the scientific principles. So these are all the already understood. This can't be patented. So I don't waste my time on too much, because it will be the very lengthy session, the 4 speakers and all the things. So I will try my best to finish my presentation well in time, and those slides which are technical for the students, I will skip them. Okay. Just for the student, this is the structure of the glycerol, which is in blue color, and then this is the structure of the fatty acids. So the definition of oil and fat is that when the three molecules of the fatty acids are glyceride with the single molecule of glycerol, then the fat oil or triglycerides, the structure is the same. So this will be developed. So, and again, so this is the reversible reaction. In the presence of water, the oil and fat, again, it is converted into the free fatty acids and the glycerol. So there are the three main sources of the oil and fats. One is the animal fat, and other is the vegetable oil, and third one is the marine oil. In animal fat, more than, or you can say the maximum fatty acids or the majority of fatty acids or the dominant fatty acids are the saturated. That's why the animal fat, and it is the solid at room temperature. And the definition, the difference between the oil and fat is that, so oil is liquid at room temperature and fat is solid at room temperature. So due to the higher concentration of saturated fatty acids, so the fat is solid. Then is the marine oil. So marine oil contains the higher number of unsaturated fatty acids. That is why it is liquid at room temperature. And the vegetable oils, so this is the basically the contains the diverse fatty acid compositions ranging from the highly unsaturated fatty acids to saturated fatty acids and moderate fatty acids. For example, the coconut oil, it is solid at room temperature and it contains more than 90% saturated fatty acids. While canola oil, it is liquid and it contains the 90% unsaturated fatty acid. And the moderate fatty acid oil is the palm oil. Palm oil approximately contains the 50% saturated and 50% unsaturated fatty acids. So it is half liquid and half solid at room temperature. So if liquid part is removed from the palm oil, it is called the palmoline, and solid fraction of the palm oil is called the palm stearine. So I am not discussing the whole slide because this only one slide needs at least 1 hour to explain. So I just want to show that there are different types of the processing in the edible oil industry. It starts from the degumming, then is the neutralization, then is the bleaching, and last stage is the deodorization. So we are interested in all these processing stages, but today I will represent my work on the deodorizer distillate. So in the last, this is not working. So the last step of the edible oil processing industry is the deodorization. It is the physical process and the simple distillation process, but it is carried out at a high temperature and high vacuum. Usually temperature ranges in between 240 to 260 degrees centigrade. So all the odoriferous components and the components which are the very valuable biocomponents which are present in the oil, so these are the distilled and collected into the deodorizer distillate. And then deodorizer distillate in the industry, so it is called the waste product, but I always say that nothing is waste in this world. Only waste is those things which are not utilized. Sometimes the waste of one industry is the raw material of other industry. So these are the components which are present in the 𝗬𝗏 distillate, and it is the very valuable. And for me, it is very, very valuable because I completed 8 research projects only on the 𝗬𝗏 distillate. And out of 8 research projects, 3 are the international research projects, which are with the Turkey, then Iran and China. Then we have different funding, yes, from the 𝗬𝗙, Pakistan Science Foundation, Sindh 𝗬𝗙, so we have a lot of the projects. So then the characterization, so we have carried out the characterization for the various 𝗬𝗏 distillates, palm oil 𝗬𝗏 distillate, canola oil 𝗬𝗏 distillate, sunflower oil 𝗬𝗏 distillate, and even corn oil 𝗬𝗏 distillate. In Turkey, we have worked on the corn oil 𝗬𝗏 distillate. So background of our invention is that the edible oil industry is using the synthetic antioxidants to increase the shelf life of the oil. But the synthetic antioxidants, so these are very harmful for the human health. So even most of the industries and most of the countries, they banned the synthetic antioxidants, even BHA, TBHQ, so many industries, so they have banned these synthetic antioxidants. But unfortunately, in Pakistan, these antioxidants are used to increase the shelf life of edible oil. So before joining the university, I worked in the edible oil industry as a general manager. So I know that valuable components which are present in the oil, so these are the safe. So which are lost are minimized during the processing. If these oils, so the biocomponents are extracted from the oil, and then we reuse these natural antioxidants into the oil, we can increase the shelf life of the edible oil. So alhamdulillah, in 2013, so we published and sent our work, and it is our USA patent. And also in 2012, I was working as a chairman in the Pakistan PSQCA committee for the edible oil industry. So under my chairmanship in 2012, first time in Pakistan, so I suggested and it was approved that there should be upper limit of the synthetic antioxidant, because these are the carcinogenic. When its amount is above then 50,000 atomic unit, then it will be carcinogenic. So their quantity, upper quantity should be controlled. Otherwise, there was only limit of lower limit, not the upper limit. So in 2012, so it was controlled by the maximum level. क्योंकि इंडस्ट्री वाले करते क्या है कि वो बाज़ औक़ात क्योंकि ऑयल काफ़ी देर तक पड़ा रहता है, तो वो बजाय कम करने के वो ज़्यादा डाल देते थे. तो जब ज़्यादा डाल देते हैं तो फिर कार्सिनोजेनिक है, ख़तरनाक है. तो ये मेरे जहन में था कि हमें मतलब नेचुरल एंटीऑक्सीडेंट यूज़ करने चाहिए. So we worked and alhamdulillah we sent the USA patent in 2013. Then we published a very good research paper for the determination of free fatty acid by the FDR spectroscopy. With the single drop of oil, you can determine the exact quantity of free fatty acid in the oil or deodorizer distillate. Otherwise, this is the official titration method by the AOCS method, not only in Pakistan, all over the world. So the oil industry is using this classical method, which is based on the titration. So it needs lot of the apparatus, lot of the chemicals, toxic chemicals, and we used a single drop of oil. And now in Pakistan, on my recommendation, some edible oil industries, so they purchase the FDR, now they are using, their life is very easy, they are using for the determination of oil. And then we were working on the fast determination of neutral oil present in the deodorizer distillate. So this is very lengthy process. At least 10 hours are required and so many chemicals and glasswares are required. And 10 hours is too much time. So when I was working on this method, so I saw that if you look at these two peaks, so this peak is due to the neutral oil or the triglyceride. And second, this blue peak, this is the free fatty acids. These are the two separate peaks, but when the neutral oil and free fatty acids, these both are present in the deodorizer distillates, so these both are, you can see here. So when neutral oil is low, so these are the inversely proportional to each other. So when the neutral oil is low, free fatty acid is greater, and when free fatty acid is greater, the neutral oil is low, both the peaks behaves reciprocally. So then we published our very good patent that with a single drop of oil, you can determine the both parameters, free fatty acids and neutral oil, with the single drop of oil, and within 1 minute. Only we have to develop the calibration, and again for the calibration we have not purchased the standards, we developed our own standards, because the refined oil contains the no free fatty acids, while the deodorizer distillate contains more than 90% free fatty acids. So we combined and makes the different ratios. So we developed our own standards. Then we published our another patent. And you can see this is the fastest patent in the history of Pakistan. So I am not discussing here the definition and something of the nanotechnology. In this forum, I would like to give the two messages of the nanotechnology from this forum. First message is that don't think anybody so small, because something, so tiny particles can do so effective work that the bulk material can't do. Am I right, Dr. Razak Sahab? So don't anybody think so small. Look the work. Look his character. If his character is strong, then he is not small. Okay? And my second message is the unity. It is the nanotechnology. Now every discipline, you can even say the physics, microbiologists, and even from the medical side, engineering side, all the pupils, you can see they are working on the nanotechnology and nanomaterials. So then we have used the deodorized distillate as a capping agent to enhance the shelf life of the edible oil. Okay? And this is our third patent, that we have used the deodorized distillate as a capping agent to increase the shelf life of the edible oil. So conclusion is that the vegetable oils are the source, not only the source of energy, but it is the source of very valuable components. And the deodorized distillate, it is the very, very valuable components and richest source of the tocopherols and tocotrienols and stanols. And then we have developed these patents from the deodorized distillate. So always the good ideas could be published with the great dedications and hard work. So at the last, I am very thankful to the organizer of the present event, and then my research group and my students. Basically, our students do the research work. We got the publications and patents and also the awards. Okay. So I am very thankful to my research group and especially the students and my colleagues. So the colleagues are very important. Believe me, Dr. Zasha Saab know that the working environment of our center is very excellent. If you got the excellent environment to do the work, then you can do anything. You can do the patent, you can do the research publications, and you can guard the research projects. Then the center, I am very thankful to my center. Due to my center, we nationally, internationally participate in the conference. Due to my center, today I am here in front of you. Last but not least, I am thankful to all of you for listening my talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights. I am sure every single person here enjoyed your presentation just as much as I did. Thank you so much. It is now time to introduce you all to the next speaker of our session. He is a scientist with nearly 4 decades of academic, clinical, and research experience across Europe and the Middle East. He serves as a consultant urologist, andrologist at Klinikum St. George, Germany, and German Medical Center, Dubai, and holds an adjunct professorship at Ulster University, UK. Formerly head of andrology at University of Innsbruck and Vienna, he has contributed extensively to neuroimmunology and neurological survey. He has authored numerous high-impact publications, served as editor-in-chief for leading journals, and received prestigious awards such as the 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗓 and the Society International de Urology Award. As president of the Austrian Embryological Society and an active member of multiple global medical societies, he continues to advance in innovative healthcare practices worldwide. Today, he will be enlightening us about the potential impact of multi-drug target drug approaches in treatment of complex diseases. So in a round of applause, please welcome Professor Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗚.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? So you can hear me and yeah. Hello? Very good, very good. So, yes, dear Mr. President, dear organizing committee, especially Professor Kayani, dear ladies and gentlemen, and dear colleagues. So, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today at this very important event. And I hope I can take you with me into another completely different way of thinking. So my presentation will be about multi-target drug approach, and I hope I can explain you what we understand under this topic. Just a second. So what are the concept of complex systems in health and disease? So modern science increasingly recognizes that the human organism is, we are complex. This is an adaptive system, a dynamic system, a non-linear system with many interactions, and among numerous biological networks, it is only one part of the network. And according to my dear colleague, Martin Grasberger, we should have sometimes a little different view to the world, because all these systems have a balanced interplay of interconnected, so physical, ecological, biochemical systems, and it's not isolated, an isolated action on a single pathway or target. So what did we do? We thought that multi-target drug approach might enhance treatment efficiency for complex diseases. It's simultaneously targeting various biological pathways, and we have potentially an improvement for patients' outcomes, which might be much better than under the view of other treatments. So, what is a complex disease? So it's not only about genetics. We have, hello? We have the epigenetics, we have other host factors like age, microbiome, obesity, nutrition, and environmental factors. So a complex disease involves multiple interconnected pathways. Sorry? And single target therapies often fall short to compensate this. So multi-target approach offers a more holistic view to the world. So the basic factors of complex diseases are multifactorial etiology and environment, pathway redundancies and crosstalks, and examples for this complex diseases include cancer, neurodegenerative disorders like multiple sclerosis. It also includes autism and many autoimmune diseases. So what are the limitations for the single target therapies? The main question that we are historically asking ourselves is, what does the drug treat specifically? But that is maybe not the right point of view. So single target paradigms try to identify a single course, a single receptor, or one mechanism, and to add this directly. But the single course is sometimes a little bit difficult. So what makes the apple fall from the tree? The wind, the time, the boy that wants to have it. It is time for falling off. This is our problem in many medical fields. Of course, if you have an acute condition, if you have a knife somewhere here, you know, okay, this is the cause. Good. But what happens in chronic multifactorial diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular disorders, neurodegenerative diseases, autoimmune disorders, chronic inflammatory? This is something where we should have another viewpoint. So, the limitations of single target therapies are, they are sometimes ineffective because there are side effects. You develop a resistance against the drug, and we have a lack of holistic disease management. Everybody knows we are treating one disease with one tablet, then a second tablet, then the third tablet, and then with the third tablet you have to give 2 further tablets to cope with the side effects. So what are the benefits of multi-targeted strategy? We have synergistic effects. We can reduce drug resistance, and we have an improved safety profile because in many times we just need lower doses of substances that are more or less harmless. So let me give you an example for that. We have something developed that we alpha 𝗏. Alpha 𝗏 is something like a dietary supplement for special medical purposes. It is really sophisticated multi-targeted approach. It has 4 main harmless ingredients. So alpha-ketoglutarate, 5-HMF. Alpha-ketoglutarate is something that I mentioned to you later, but 5-HMF, for example, is the good thing from honey, the healing thing from honey. But if you will really use it, you have to eat about 2.5 kilograms of honey per day. This is a little bit sticky. So, I want to take you shifting from symptom-centric to systemic-centric view. Alpha-ketoglutarate, or in English language or English literature, it is 2-oxoglutarate or 2-oxoglutaric acid. What does it do? So we find it in the so-called Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle is our energy cycle, the cycle that delivers energy to our body. But the same substance, different name, has also many other functions. It reduces oxidative stress, it inhibits the development of cancer, it is essential for our muscle function and for repair, for building proteins, for digesting, for immune modulation, and has many other steering capacities. And one of these is, okay, we get energy from it, we can reduce oxidative stress, which is in many times the cause why the disease or why dysregulation gets into a disease. So if we reduce this oxidative stress, yeah, then we can cope with many other diseases. But it also is for protein synthesis, for inflammation, for our immunity, and for the cancer regulation. And this is one single substance. And just to make you completely confused, if you take the second substance with it, then you see here we tried to make a figure of all the interactions between the alpha-ketoglutarate on one side and the 5-HMF. So you see, this is steering many things within this system. At the end, we have an important metabolic role, we have antioxidative functions, we have a gene regulation, and we have the enhancement of apoptosis if the cell is on the way to get a cancer cell. This is a good example for how you can use the body intern regulation system and not try to modify it, but support it to get the right function out of it. The second product or second substance that I want to demonstrate to you is a newly patented water-soluble complex that consists from two substances mainly. This is a D-binding protein and a vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is known to be helpful in multiple sclerosis. If you have a vitamin D deficiency, you have an 80% higher rate of getting multiple sclerosis. It is very important in diabetes, especially in type 1 diabetes. Low vitamin D can lead to earlier heart attacks, and it is very important in cancer prevention. This is what we know. But the problem is, vitamin D is not only for bones. We know it is found in many other cells, and especially in our immune cells. And here we have a very special immune cell which is called macrophage. This is the first line of defense. This is the kickstart, the key point where the immune system starts to work. But we have a little problem. Vitamin D is a fat. It's fatty, and blood is water liquid. So the problem is, if you put olive oil into water, it will not mix. So how can we transport vitamin D within our body? We have a so-called D-binding protein. And this protein makes the whole stuff water soluble. And within this is swimming within the bloodstream, and then we have to reach the vitamin D receptor, which is inside the cell and traveling between the inside of the cell and the core where the DNA is, and then we get the DNA reactions. So there is no receptor on the outside. And it is up to now, until, well, now you will know how it works, because I wish, but it is not commonly known. The debinding protein has not only the function to transport vitamin D, it also transports fatty acid. It is scavenging actin, which is an alarm product, and it occurs after trauma, sepsis, burn injury, and if you don't eliminate it from the circulation, you have an overwhelming reaction. Next thing is, you can activate different immune cells only with this protein. But the way how it is going to activate it was long time unknown. But this is essential for understanding what is going on. So, in our body, to get this special debinding protein, which is activating our immune cells, they have to swim along, this debinding protein has to swim along an activated T lymphocyte, which is a special immune cell. And there, one of the sugars on the outside are cut off. Then it has to pass an activated B lymphocyte. Then the second sugar is cut off. And then you get the active form of the debinding protein to transport the vitamin D into the macrophage and activate this cell. Unfortunately, well, of course, you can deactivate this substance. This makes sense because otherwise you could have an overwhelming reaction, but also cancer cells can produce the enzyme which deactivates it. And this is, in part, the reason why immune cells cannot detect cancer cells, and then the cancer can grow. So, how do we overcome this situation? What we did is we artificially made us the debinding protein, cut off the two sugars of the which normally should be done by the immune cells, but this doesn't happen, and we merged it with vitamin D. And suddenly we got a very active substance that is activating our immune cells by far. It is activating much more than the not modified protein. It is activating macrophages more than the protein alone. So the protein plus the vitamin D makes the big difference. And if the macrophage is activated, not before, if the macrophage is activated, you get 1,170 gene reactions on vitamin D. So if the vitamin D is not going into the immune cell, it is not working. The interesting thing is, if you get in common 1,373 gene reactions, which are in common. If you give a high amount of this substance, then you get additionally 797 gene reactions. If you give a low amount, then you get only 1,500 gene reactions, and these gene reactions are different. So with the dosage of this special complex, which is naturally formed, but in certain cases not active, we can, on one hand, influence the aggressive action of immune cells to defeat bacteria, viruses, cancer, or we can lower down autoimmune reactions like, for example, neuroinflammation in autism and inflammatory bowel disease. So this is very, very interesting. Just by giving the same substance in different amounts, you get completely different reactions. So what are we doing at the moment in case of cancer treatment with my very warm friends from SZABIST University, 𝗟𝗏𝗳𝗄𝗏. We are working on multi-targeted strategies for so-called kinase inhibitors that are essential in the blood supply for cancer cells. Or on the other side, we are working on autism spectrum disorder. And here I want to show you one of the new developments from SZABIST University. We focused on a gene defect, gene mutation called SLC25A12. Forget about that. This is a protein, coding for a protein that brings energy supply into the energy factories of the cell, into our mitochondria. And the normal form of the protein is looking like this. If you have a mutation, then the form is completely different. It is only a little, slightly different on the gene, but the protein is not working anymore. That means the mutation of the gene is makes an energy deficiency, especially in nerve cells. Now we, if we know this, what can we do? Before I told you, we have a substance that is acting in our energy cycle. So we take alpha-ketoglutarate, and instead of starting here, which is dependent on the gene defect, we just bypass the gene defect and start from a lower stage, which means you don't get 100% output, but 75 to 80%, and this makes a huge difference. So between maximum 50% and 75 to 80% power. This is essential, and it can be, if you apply that to the kids, you will see within several days that the reaction of the kids is getting different. Here, I just wanted to show you one of our recent publications that we did together, and the structural analysis of the vitamin D binding protein was done at SZABIST University too. This very nice, very nice publication. So, in conclusion, complex disease requires complex solutions. Modulating several biological pathways can be done simultaneously, and this approach is a patient-specific therapy. And understanding these complex immune regulations leads us to develop completely new therapeutic innovations. The safety profile is very good. We did not see any side effect, no negative side effect, neither by the alpha age nor by the immuno-D, so no overdosage possible. And I'm happy, well, coming to the end, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And I would like to thank everybody for the patience to listen to me. And once again, the organizing committee and my dear friend, 𝗟𝗙𝗦𝗄𝗧. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a very great presentation. And your part today in LIFSCICON has truly made it a very memorable one. For all the attendees, the stage is open to questions. And if anybody has anything they would wish to ask from Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗧𝗏 or our speakers, the first three speakers, the platform is now open. If anybody wishes to ask anything, please raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you.
Greetings to you, sir. My name is Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗧𝗏 from 𝗟𝗏𝗙𝗦𝗎 University. I am a faculty member. My question is to you that when we talk about multi-targeted approach, will it not complicate the pathways if we are talking about in terms of toxicology? That is my first question. Sir, did you get my question?
Can't hear him. He just pointed at his hair. He can't hear him.
Hi, Dr. Alf. Can you hear me?
Yeah, well, yes, now I can hear you. But
So-
in between, it is very interrupted.
Okay. So, one of the participants asked, what would be the effect of multi-targeted approach? Would it have any toxicity in the body? You can't hear?
It,
Okay.
Sir, can you hear me?
yeah.
Sir, can you hear me? Can I ask my question?
I don't know if I can do anything.
Hello? Sir, can you hear me? Hello? Sir? Sir, can you hear me?
Okay, I didn't hear you. Okay.
So in between it works, and then it is just cut off. So I get maximum half of the question. Any toxicity? So thank you for the WhatsApp. Any toxicity? No. This is very interesting. We have with the AKG is you cannot overdose it. Anything that is not going into repair is converted to energy in the Krebs cycle. So the maximum that what you get is energy. This is the only side effect that we see. You get about 15 to 20% more power here and here. And with the vitamin D, we confirmed that not only in clinic but also with IV injection, 27 times the normal dose into mice, and there was no reaction, nothing. So as long as the vitamin D is connected to the protein, it is absolutely non-toxic, even in higher doses.
Okay, so I hope the question is answered.
Sir, you are saying that that was on preclinical data that was performed on mice. What about the clinical part that was performed on RCTs on humans?
As far as the autism disorders, we are actually targeting the mitochondrial pathways, as Dr. Harvick quoted. So we are generally working on the metabolic pathways, and first we confirm all the availability and the metabolic kind of availability of the drugs. For example, vitamin D binding protein. So vitamin D binding protein is a natural receptor that carries out the vitamin D throughout the cells. So what we are doing, so we are just mutating and increasing the availability of this vitamin D throughout the body. And for the autism, so what we are doing, so we are just working on the aspartate and glutamate transporters that actually hinder the glutamic and aspartate signals. So throughout this signaling regulation, we have generally many kind of the processes that will be regulated throughout these drugs, especially the neural disorders, tumors, and other pathways as well. So from that perspective, treating the metabolic disorders and treating some kind of the genetic disorders, we are working on the complex disease disorders. This is actually our concept.
So if there are any other question from other speakers as well.
I have a question to Dr. Asad Ali. My name is 𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗀𝗍𝗍𝗂. I am from Biotechnology Department. Sir, here I am. So thank you, Dr. Asad, for your presentation. It was indeed a very insightful one, and it was a very interesting take on sustainability in the domain of healthcare. My question to you would be, since you have mentioned about the sustainability part, but you see, with emerging infectious diseases, we always have a strategy with, like a strategy would be beginning with the end in mind. That means we are targeting certain outcomes, and that particularly puts this idea of sustainability on the back burner. So how would you strike the balance between this sustainability and the emerging infectious diseases that we are facing right now? In fact, we have gone through one of the pandemics, and if history has taught anything, there is another one on the way. So how would you strike the balance? This is my question.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think, so you know, when we talk about challenges, this is a challenge, right? So for example, when I work in the hospital, right, if there are patient in front of me who I think may have a highly resistant bug, I will give antibiotics, which are very strong antibiotics, which will take care of them, right? But in a circular motion, that will kind of contribute to overall resistance as well. So you have to make those judgment calls, right? So I think the key principle here is to be aware of the potential cost, or I would say potential harm long as we do that, I think we will mitigate the damage that we are causing. So I think the most important thing is to question yourself. Okay? What I am doing it with the short term, with a good intention, the short term, but what is the harm that I am really causing? If the question is crossing your mind, the odds are you are doing the right thing. But if the question never crosses your mind, then the odds are you may be doing more harm unintentionally. So that's kind of the way.
We're still open to more questions. Are there any questions in the back?
Assalamu alaikum, sir. My question is to Dr. Asad. Sir, you mentioned the concept of AMR in your talk. So my question is that in clinic settings, we are not seeing the emphasis on diagnostic stewardship, and clinicians are not doing that much for disease control and counseling for disease prevention. So what are the measures or what are the steps that can be taken as a learned physician and clinician? Please guide us. Thank you.
So I think you're absolutely right. And now, there are technicalities of being a physician, right? You have to make judgment calls in here. But I think the same concept exists, right? If there is, so right now, there should be a system of kind of accountability in terms of unnecessary use of antibiotics. Okay, so what I tell patients, and unfortunately, right now in Pakistan, we don't have that kind of a framework where somebody is tracking how many antibiotics did I prescribe per day or whatever. We don't have that kind of electronic medical records outside of the main big hospitals and these, right? So what can you do as a consumer of healthcare? So the two things that I tell people is, it's your right to question and to discuss. Sometimes the doctors feel, if I don't give antibiotic, the patient will not be satisfied and will go somewhere else. Okay, so the doctors are under. So if the patient actually asks, are antibiotics really necessary here? Can I wait a few days and then do that kind of, that kind of gives encouragement to the doctor as well to be a little kind of on the braver side and not get into this false belief unless I give antibiotics, the patient will not be satisfied. The second thing is, I think it's a judgment call. If you go to a doctor and it's just impossible you come out of that visit without getting an antibiotic, then that's a good sign for you to consider, maybe I should go to somebody else who's a little more kind of prudent. So you're asking questions, I guess, is the best thing that you as a patient can do. Asking questions because it's your right to ask, and it's my duty as a physician to satisfy you, right? These are the days of paternalistic medicine are gone when we are saying, oh, I know better, do this. Right now, this is a discussion. We are going to jointly make a plan. And if you ask that question, the odds are that you will be promoting the culture which is useful.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all our speakers for answering the questions so well. Now, moving on, I would like to call on stage somebody who, as an honoree of 𝗬𝗏𝗼𝗎𝗓 in 2017 and Forbes 50 over 50 Global 2025 listee. She has an illustrious career spanning 40 years as an educationist, social sector development policy specialist, and has been elected twice to the National Assembly of Pakistan. She served twice as Special Assistant to the Prime Minister on social sectors and also is a well-known women's rights activist. Since 2013, she is the President of SZABIST University. Please put your hands together for the one and only Madam President Shahnaz Wazir Ali.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A very, very special welcome and note of appreciation to each one of our guest speakers for the morning session. Dr. Professor 𝗬𝗓𝗫𝗲𝗲 Sahab, Professor Dr. 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝗵𝗲𝗃, Dr. 𝗬𝗓𝗙𝗫𝗲𝗃, and of course from the University of Sindh, Dr. 𝗬𝗵𝗫𝗫𝗃 Sahab. And also to Professor Dr. 𝗬𝗵𝗫𝗃. I don't know if Professor 𝗬𝗵𝗃 can still hear us or not, but it's a great addition to this morning's session. The Second International Conference on Life Sciences is addressing a very vital theme in Pakistan. And I'm extremely pleased to see so many students here to listen to the special speakers we had here today, and also the one international speaker. The presence of students to me is the most heartening feature, as I'm sure it is to all our special guests. Because if we are in an academic institution, we are here for you, because of you. And it's the Life Sciences Department particularly has probably some of the finest students on our campus. I want to thank the Dean, Dr. 𝗓𝗓𝗃𝗍𝗍, for leading and organizing this conference as the Dean of the Life Sciences Department, in which he told you we have several programs in undergraduate biosciences. We have, of course, the Public Health Department, and we also have MS programs, and we have, of course, a PhD program as well. I also want to thank Dr. Hamad, who's the head of the Department of the Undergraduate Biosciences. We have an excellent faculty, our program managers who have put in a lot of time and effort in organizing this international research conference. An international conference on life sciences is very, very critical for our understanding of ourselves today, our families, our communities, our city, and of course our country, and the world. So life sciences is a very large umbrella, just the term of life sciences. It cuts across so many things which are so pertinent to our daily lives. I would like to especially comment very briefly on the excellent presentations we've had here this morning. The opening note by Dr. 𝗬𝗓𝗫𝗍𝗃 Sahab from ICCBS. I think your connect with SZABIST, as you had said, is a very long-term connect with our Chancellor, and you and I have had several meetings and discussions. And the relationship between the Department of Life Sciences, and in particular the students of biosciences, wherever you are, undergraduate and postgraduate, to have the opportunity to go to ICCBS, to use your labs, to attend your lectures, to have partnerships with our faculty. All of these are great advantages for us. And in particular, our nanotechnology lab, I think, has benefited a great deal from your input. So thank you very much, Dr. 𝗬𝗓𝗫𝗍𝗃 Sahab. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I think we will look forward to several other more intensive meetings with you as we move forward. Because whatever the discipline is at any university, it constantly needs to self-review and to look at what else do we need to do, how to strengthen the programs for our students here, because you will be in the world of tomorrow, each one of you, either working somewhere or contributing somewhere and providing a good understanding to your own lives and to the institutions that you work in. So this opportunity to go to ICCBS is absolutely exceptional for you, each one of the students who is here at SZABIST, to have the partnership with ICCBS, to go to their institute and learn from the multiple opportunities that are there. I want to thank Professor Dr. 𝗬𝗓𝗫𝗍𝗃 Sahab, particularly Professor Dr. 𝗬𝗵𝗫𝗃 And I think your talk on sustainability and how it intersects, Dr. 𝗬𝗵𝗫𝗍𝗃 is so pertinent to the issues that we are facing today. First of all, to understand the concept of sustainability. What are we talking about? Should we compromise the needs of the future generations with our lifestyle, consumption patterns, living, and all of that? And we all know that would be disastrous if we were not to look to the future generations and see how we are impacting them today. So thank you very much for that particular theme that ran through your presentation, and also your highlighting the fact about drug use, in particular antibiotics. Pakistan, I think, is one of those countries where the use of drug prescriptions is not monitored properly. And every time you go to a doctor, and again I speak to the younger generation sitting here, if you take your parent or your grandparent to a doctor, you see the doctors tend to overprescribe. I call it overprescribe. It may not be a good term to use, but you warned us about the dangers of too many antibiotics being prescribed and what it really means to your health systems. So in a sense, each one of us also has to be aware of the potential impact of too many drugs and how they damage the system, and the viruses that are prevalent today. And the CDC, with whom you have a very good relationship at the 𝗟𝗙𝗦𝗖𝗢𝗡 University, I think the CDC is under attack by Trump, as we all know. He has cut the funding to CDC, and it's a very, very important organization situated in America. But nevertheless, 𝗟𝗙𝗦𝗡 University is a premier university, and the research that you do, the seminars, the talks, the lectures, and the students who study with you, and the benefit of your wisdom to our university students is greatly appreciated. I think everything in your presentation talked to relevant issues to each one of us. The waste, the pollution, the viruses, the environment, and how, as you said, each one of us can make a difference. If we continue to throw waste outside, how can we expect anybody else not to do that? And there are countries that have changed behavior patterns. So it's behavior change behind how you look at sustainability, and each one of us has a responsibility, as you said. Dr. 𝗬𝗓𝗏 Mohsin Ali, thank you so much for talking about diabetes and glycemic foods. I took away a lot from your presentation. I think a lot of people did too, because it's, again, very relevant. Pakistan has 26.7%. I did not quite realize that. It's amongst the highest countries in the world in terms of pre-diabetic, diabetic, and chronically diabetic. So this is a very critical issue, life issue. And thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your research presentation. Dr. Professor Ralph Herwig from Pharma, HG Pharma from Austria, who spoke about some of the drugs that they produce, etc., was also very, very informative, very useful. I listened very carefully to the vitamin D comments that he made about the use of vitamin D and how much the body can absorb. I appreciate the other representative who's here from Pharma. I think he's here somewhere. He just responded. Thank you for being here, because we couldn't hear Professor Herwig all the way through. But that was a good contribution made by him. We also have to recognize that when somebody is speaking from the pharmaceutical industry, they are talking about principally their own products. So we have to keep that in mind. It's not just pure research. It is research, but it's not across the border research findings. I want to also, I'm afraid I was not here throughout, Dr. Hussain Shah Sahab, throughout your presentation, but this issue of vegetable oil is so critical in everybody's kitchen and in everybody's family. And thank you so very much for being here from the University of Sindh. Let me just say a few words about SZABIST and the commitment that we have to encourage our students with their projects, their thesis, their case studies. Dr. Kashif Ali had already told you that we have a nanotechnology lab in place, apart from the regular labs that we have. We also have stem cell research on a very small scale. But we are looking for partnerships. We are looking for collaboration. And I hope that one of the things that will come out of this conference will be substantive value-added partnerships with each of the universities that is sitting here. And the partnership is not just at the faculty level, it's at your level, at the student level. The faculty may lead the discussions and help you, but I would suggest each and every one of you think about this opportunity, which will not come again easily in your lives, that if you can become part of the team from SZABIST that has a collaborative project or activity with any one of these premier institutions that are here today. I think that would be, Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗧𝗖𝗍, a very good ongoing outcome of this. We have a number of paper presentations following this, I think 15 or 18 today and a large number tomorrow. So I thank the paper presenters also who are here today, because I know that this is a very important piece of work that you have done. And making a paper presentation really takes you to a particular level of recognition, and it allows our students and our faculty also to benefit from it. So once again, thank you to each one of you. I know it's been a long session this morning, and I apologize for the fact that we did not take a tea break or a coffee break in between, but I know that we have a lunch break coming up. So thank you very much indeed, and it's a great pleasure for me to have been here with all of you today.
Thank you so much, Madam President. You gave such a great speech. You spoke so eloquently and quite literally summarized the entire conference. So now we would be commencing the award ceremony. We have Madam President on stage. May I please invite Dr. Kashif Ali to come on stage to commence the award ceremony. And please may we have Dr. Hamad on stage too, in a round of applause. I would now like to invite in a round of applause our esteemed chief guest, Professor Dr. Mohammad Raza Shah on stage to receive our shield of appreciation. Sir, may I please... Professor Dr. Mohammad Raza Shah, may I please ask you to return on stage to commence the award ceremony for the other speakers. I would now like to call on stage in a round of applause Professor Dr. Syed Asad Ali. May we now please have Dr. Tahira Mohsin Ali on stage. Please put your hands together for Professor Dr. Syed Tufail Hussain Shah. Thank you so much to all our speakers. May I now please request all our esteemed speakers and the Faculty of Life Sciences to come on stage for the group picture. The entire faculty, please make your way towards the stage for the group picture. With this, the first part of the conference comes to a short interval. Students, I request you to please stay seated. I request all of the faculty and the esteemed guests to head towards room 6 for lunch and prayer break. We will reconvene afterwards for the presentation module sharp at 2 p.m. The students, please stay seated as the faculty leaves the seminar room.